Thank you, Chairman Lynch, Ranking Member Heiss. It's an honor to be here today to talk about GAO's past work on biodefense. A lot of what I was going to talk about has been said, so I'll try to alter this a little bit. Biodefense is a very unique threat, and biothreats are very unique in this country. We look at lots of different threats across the government at GAO, and I think unlike cyber threats and mass shootings and things that are in our face every day, it's very difficult because the perception is that these are low likelihood events, and thus it makes it very difficult to maintain focus and maintain resources on these types of events. But clearly, it doesn't mean these aren't serious threats and very scary threats. The other challenge that Dr. George mentioned is fragmentation across the federal government and across all levels of government and the private sector. We've identified for almost a decade now that fragmentation across large and small departments, DHS, USDA, Department of Defense, I think we said before there were almost 24 presidentially appointed officials that had some sort of responsibility for biodefense. They make this very, very difficult to tackle because departments can't tell other departments what to do, and they can't tell them how to spend their money. They also can't tell them how much money to request. This also cuts across congressional committees of jurisdiction too. It just makes it a very big challenge. Because of this, for almost a decade, we've recommended that the federal government needs a large overarching national strategy and focal point to address this issue, similar to what we've done in other areas like cybersecurity. In addition to the strategy itself at the high level, we've also done work at GAO on a number of more specific biodefense related programs across the government. And I'd like to talk about just a few of those things. In the area of biodetection, as was mentioned in the opening statement, we've done work looking at Department of Homeland Security's BioWatch program. This is the only system we have in this country that has a goal of detecting a bio threat that's released into the air. But frankly, the system has struggled since the very beginning to do what it was intended to do. It's never done what it's intended to do and never worked as well as we've wanted it to work. So we've made a number of recommendations over the years to try to address these issues, ultimately leading to the cancellation of this program in different ways. It's currently still in use, but is going to be phased out by DHS, but the replacement situation is very uncertain and very unclear at this point in terms of biodetection. In the area of situational awareness, which is extremely important, which is basically how do we know what threat we're facing, how quickly, and who knows it? DHS and HHS have both struggled. On the DHS side, we have found that the National Biosurveillance Integration Center has struggled to get the data it needs and the information it needs, frankly, to be useful to its partners. We heard from the people that use it that it doesn't provide new and useful information. And the HHS side, it's been almost 13 years since there's been a requirement for a public health situational awareness network. That still hasn't been implemented. We've done work on it 3 or 4 different times in that 13 years and recommended ways to try to implement that program. Most recently, in the recently passed legislation, set a deadline for its implementation again and required that HHS implement our recommendations. So HHS has just continued to struggle to implement that situational awareness program. Laboratory safety and security. Another huge issue that we and many others have identified problems with. This is an area that we've identified problems across the biodefense enterprise with all of these departments. We looked at almost every department that oversees or has laboratories, and we found widespread challenges in their policies and oversight. Some policies were out of date. Some suspicious incidents were not even being reported. So we made over 33 recommendations at that time, which is a huge number across departments. 21 are still open. So some departments have made progress, others are still lagging behind. I'd also like to talk about what Dr. George mentioned about the catastrophic incidents, and I'll throw in there situations like Zika in 2016 and Ebola in 2014. What we see in these situations, and even those weren't as severe as the ones we're really worried about, is it's not clear who is in charge when these situations happen, and it's also not clear where the funding comes from. We've done some work in the past looking at development of a response fund. This would be similar to what FEMA has, for example, to handle disasters when they occur. I think people vary on their views of this issue, but Some people thought there needed to be some sort of fund so we deal with these issues when they come up and we know exactly who is in charge of these situations. So, we don't have to wait months for supplemental appropriations and things like that. So those are just a few of the issues. I have many more things to talk about, but thank you for the invitation.